Good morning. John chapter 1, verse 17. For the law was given through Moses. Grace and truth came through Jesus Christ. No one has ever seen God, the only God who is at the Father's side. He has made him known. Verse 17 is kind of building on the end of verse 16, where it says, from his fullness we have all received grace upon grace. And remember, we talked about how the grace of the new covenant surpassed the grace of the old covenant. So verse 17 then is explaining that. It's telling us that the grace of the new covenant is that grace and truth that Jesus brings. And the law was that which was given through Moses. Now remember in the Old Testament when Moses wanted to see God and God said, no, you'll see my afterglow or my afterburner. Well, that's why verse 18 begins with no one has ever seen God, because this is John's subtle way as he talks about the deity of Christ. And in verse 18 explains that, talks about how the only God who is at the Father's side, that's a reference to Jesus, has made the Father known. He's showing that this one who brings grace and truth is not like the one who gave the law, in that he is greater because he is God, he is at the Father's side, and he sees the Father, he sees God. And that one who gave the law didn't see God. It reminds me of Hebrews 3. In Hebrews 3, the author is keen to point out that Moses, while great, while respected and regarded, was surpassed by Jesus. Jesus was superior in that way. So in verse 3 of Hebrews 3, we read, for Jesus has been counted worthy of more glory than Moses. As much more glory as the builder of a house has more honor than the house itself. For every house is built by someone, but the builder of all things is God. Now Moses was faithful in all God's house as a servant, to testify to the things that were to be spoken later. But Christ is faithful over God's house as a son. See, that's the difference. He, Moses, served in God's house. Christ is a son over God's house. So this little baby that those law-abiding shepherds, those law-abiding parents recognize as coming from God himself, as God himself, whether they fully grasp it in that moment or not, their worship is demonstrative of the reality that this little baby was superior to the greatest figure, one of the greatest figures, Moses, of the Old Testament. Dwell on that. That's what John wants his readers to understand. Have a good day.